Hello, everyone, and welcome to Wee Ood, an unofficial Doctor Who watch along podcast. My name is Cameron. I am one of your hosts this evening, and I'm here with my co host, Ben. How are you doing today, Ben?
I'm doing fantastic.
That sounds great, Ben. I wish I was that fantastic.
No,
Um,
no, not really. I was just doing my podcast voice for you. Eh, you know, it is what it is. The classic male mantra.
uh, yeah, that suits this week's episode where we're going to be talking about Death to the Daleks.
Indeed.
This story came out the 23rd of February. Fuck, I fucked up. I did the British version, I guess. I'm reading it off offline. I didn't correct it myself. I had to do the British version. So to do it the correct way, February 23rd through March 16th, 1974. Written by Terry Nation. I don't know if you could have told Ben that this is a Terry Nation Dalek story.
What?
Directed by Michael Bryant, who did The Green Death. He also did Sea Devils, and he also did Colony in Space.
Okay.
But this is kind of similar to Colony in Space because of how much quarry work there is. Interesting quote
Sure.
I got from Michael Lee Bryant is he said that this was his least interesting serial he worked on, and that the story had nothing to hang on to, and he didn't really know what the story was about. Um,
I would agree with that.
so Ben, that's gonna kick us into the conversation. Actually, before I do that, I have this little summary I wrote.
Yeah. What
Uh,
is this story even about,
so
Cameron?
a day of the death of the Daleks. Terry Nation is back with another Dalek story where the Doctor meets the Daleks once again, and it revolves around getting drugs and an ancient civilization. Because
Yeah.
it's a Terry Nation Dalek story. So Ben, what did you think of Death of the Daleks?
It was just kind of boring. There's one or two, actually, no, two. I'll name them right now. Two interesting ideas. Well, there's like a living city and there's like a flash in the pan, what if the Daleks were unlikely allies? We have to team up to fight a greater enemy. But then that's done after like half an episode, and then the rest they're just regular old evil Daleks. And the rest they're just kind of running around a quarry. I would say the worst John Pertwee Dalek story, which is saying something since none of them are really great.
No, but I will agree with you, Ben. This is the worst Pertwee Dalek story, and this is one of his worst stories. I did not like this story. There's a couple of people out there that really do love this story and say that this is one of their favorite John Pertwee stories. I I'm now getting from you. Not those people.
No.
This is very repetitive, like I've already mentioned multiple times. This is just Terry Nation doing another of him just doing the basic beats of the first Dalek story again. That it's just like, oh, there's an ancient civilization, or like I guess you can't call the thousand ancient civilization, but like there's like this like I'm just gonna say like the what's the word I'm looking for, Ben? The archaic civilization?
Primitive?
The primitive, yes, the native primitives on this planet against the Daleks. That's what these stories all have in common.
Yeah.
Um,
Except this time the primitives are evil. Some of them.
yeah.
Most of them.
And then like there's like the little guys that like that hang around with John, and like kind of
Yes.
helps Sarah. But I think Michael brought it. Michael Lee Bryan summed it up best when he said that this has really nothing to hang on to, and what is this story even fucking about?
It's about we gotta save the colonists. There's a plague.
And
Daleks,
I
ah!
like that. I like the element that both the humans and the Daleks are affected by the same disease.
No, they're not though.
Are they not?
That was a subterfuge. The Daleks really just wanted to extort the The
Was I just not fucking paying attention, Ben? I must have not been paying attention.
like, when
Yeah.
they form their
Yeah, yeah.
alliance, they say, "Yes, we our conquered worlds are facing the same problems." Later, it's revealed that they just want to, essentially hold it for ransom, uh, for the humans to pay them or be whatever.
See, Ben, I'm happy that somebody paid attention to this story. Because my God, was this one of those stories where it's hard to fully pay attention to it because of how boring it is? You just kind of just like just rolling with it, just hoping that there's gonna be something exciting happening, and then there really never is. But I do like that idea, though, even though, like you said, that it's not a fucking they don't go through with it. But I like the idea of the Daleks and the humans both suffering from this disease.
Yeah, they should have totally leaned into that instead of halfway through episode 2 saying, "Actually, never mind. We are the superior race. We just captured you. Do our bidding or we'll kill you." And it's just the Daleks again. Did did Genesis of the Daleks does that have a co-writer, or did Terry Nation just get, like, a flash of divine inspiration?
So basically, what happens is that the we don't know. It's one of those great mysteries that we don't know. So the production history of Genesis of the Daleks. We'll get more into it in a couple of weeks.
I mean, I haven't seen it, but I'm assuming it's really good.
We'll get into it in a couple of weeks. But what happened was Terry Nation gave Terrence Dicks and Barry Letts the same story again, and they said, "Fucking Terry, we can't do this again. This is the same one that you gave us last time." So they said, "Just give us the origin story of the Daleks." And then he went and he made it. He decided to write that, and then Robert Holmes came in at some point and because he took over as script editor, and then he said basically, we got to make it fucking darker, and really scare off the kids." And we don't know. It's kind of one of those Doctor Who mysteries that we don't know if how much of it is Terry Nation and how much of it is Holmes.
Yeah.
There's some reports saying that Holmes did do a rewrite of it, and then there's some that just said no, Terry is like the main guy, the main writer. But something we don't know. Robert Holmes, we'll get more into this for like when Robert Holmes takes over as script editor. But we have more like records of him just like completely rewriting stories.
Mhm.
um but yeah, to go to Death back to Death of the Daleks. Terry Nation did he was the one that came up with the idea of like the sickness aspect of it. Um and then at the same time, the Barry Letts and Terrence Dicks both told Nation to include the Daleks into it because they weren't originally in this story. Which makes me go, what the fuck was the story without the Daleks?
Just about the Exelons in the city,
I would imagine, and they
I guess,
maybe we're gonna would have got more explanation of why there's fucking puzzles.
because they gotta filter out so only the most intelligent can
More like
access the center for some
they more have
reason.
to make another part of the story. Interrogation without ideas. So he
Yeah,
said,
like, they have to do little games and quizzes in order to get to the heart of the city. Ah, that 3rd episode cliffhanger is just spoilers, it's just terrible.
so I was gonna get into this when we talked about cliffhangers, right? It's obviously like I don't know about you, but like right from the start, I had like a ding when that happened. It was like this was definitely a production error mistake, and I looked it up, and it 100% is. That wasn't gonna be the cliffhanger, but they ran out of time, so they had to have that be the cliffhanger,
Yeah. Ah,
which you can totally see.
yeah, they're just like, "Ah, there's a pattern on the floor, stop!" Roll credits.
The original one was supposed to be there was some point where where was it?
Was it supposed to be, like, when their minds are under attack or something? Or would it was it a completely different something we didn't see?
No, we did see it later on. So there was supposed to be the scene where the doctor and like the guy, his like little friend, they have to take the test and then the two Daleks appear. And then like it would have ended with the Daleks like trying to
Gotcha.
exterminate them. which is still not a great cliffhanger, but it would have been
Yeah.
better than just being like, "Stop!
Ah,
There's shit on the floor."
those the kids at the playground are gonna be like, "What is that thing? What could it be?"
But talking about kids on the playground, something that stuck with me throughout this story is that there's so much like the lore behind Doctor Who is that like, oh, the kids
Yeah.
sat behind the sofa watching it, hiding behind the sofa watching Doctor Who with the when the Daleks appeared. I don't think any child would have been hiding
No.
behind the
What
sofa for Death of the
what was
Daleks.
with the music? 'Cause that I
We'll
feel
get
like
into that.
is
We'll get into that.
closely
But I
linked.
want that could be the next thing. But like the Daleks are just so
Yeah,
unmenacing. This serial. There's just they that scare factor that they had in the first serial and that they continue to have um of just like it has that fascism core to it, and it has that like the voices really make it like just gives that extra
absolutely, yeah,
notch of just like scariness, right? You could imagine that in the 1960s that this would
absolutely.
have been terrifying to watch, but at this point they are so not menacing and they do not strike any type of
Yeah,
fear to the audience that it's almost a joke when they on screen or when they get defeated. It's pretty much like comedy at this point.
yeah. One of them commits suicide because they found out Sarah escaped.
Which I was so confused by that. I was like, what the fuck's going on?
Like, yeah, not all their menacingness, it's all gone.
And like this one, definitely you feel it that they're not they're made out of wood and that like they're like very cheaply made. I do gotta shout out the moment where they use their new weapons for the first time and they kill that primitive. And they say that the weapons are moderately effective. I did like that moment.
Mhm.
Um, but apart from that,
For
the Daleks just awful this serial.
To me, it doesn't make sense that they could even function in this zero electricity environment. Like, it from what we know, I feel like it should have just killed them instantly
Oh yeah,
because it's like a life support thing. Like,
yeah, because like
in the Daleks, the one Terry Nation wrote, the second the power was cut, it was like on death's door.
and then like Carrie Nations, like they like his those early Daleks really make a big point of like having like the that they run off of like a static electricity, wasn't it?
Yeah,
That like they like that's why they have to have in like Dalek Invasion of Earth like those big like fucking those big bases, and then they get the
yeah.
slats later on, and but like it,
But no, actually, they run on psychokinetic energy. Their minds are just so powerful that they can move things and shoot projectile-based guns and be totally fine.
but yeah, now I think it's good. We can move on to like you said, it definitely does not help the menacing factor of the Daleks of serial, which is
What
Carrie
the fuck
Blyton's
is the
score.
music? Yeah,
Um,
it's so like, the main kinda Dalek theme, it seems like it's trying to be like a comedy kinda thing, but they never do anything funny. Like,
no,
I could be down for funny Daleks, but these aren't funny Daleks.
no.
So I don't know, it just feels weird and out of place.
So Carrie Blyton did three Doctor Who episodes. He did Doctor and the Silurians, Death of the Daleks, and Revenge of the Cybermen. And
Silurians had, like, a weird soundtrack,
it
didn't it?
did. I forget if we liked it or if we hated it. But I
I
remember
forget too.
we did comment on it. It was very much something you noticed in Doctor the Solarian.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing here.
A lot of these last, like, season or 2, the music has kinda faded into the background for me. But
Uh,
this one was
yeah.
very much in your face, "What is this?"
I think it's just that it's I think for the most part, Dudley Simpson, who's the main composer of most of the episodes the past couple of
Yeah.
seasons, he's just is consistently pretty good at doing scores for Doctor Who.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
it just fits right.
It
It
never
fits right
feels
in.
out of place.
No, it's just like his sound is just it's just
Fades
what
into the
Doc.
background
But
of
I don't think
just
like that's a
setting the
bad.
mood.
I don't think that's a in a bad way.
No,
It's just
absolutely.
like it fits so well with classic Doctor Who, and it is the sound of classic Doctor Who music. What I think of when I think of Doctor Who music, in the classic show. So when you do not get him, and we get something different like this score, you really feel it, and it's really like you said. It's like you could picture this as in like a children's TV show or like a
Yeah.
comedic or comedy show. It feels not science fictiony at all.
No.
Even like when we talked about, I remember Sea Devils had like a very experimental score. And even that one, that feels science fictiony. Like this one does not feel
Yeah.
like it's science fiction at all. I'm kind of curious to see. I haven't seen Revenge of the Cybermen, so I'm curious of how his score is like with the Cybermen.
Is that next season?
That's next season.
Yeah. That'll be interesting.
But yeah, it's pretty bad. It does not fit the serial at all in the just the Daleks and classic Doctor Who in general. Pretty disappointing. Sarah Jane is in it,
She is in it.
um,
I
but
noticed that.
like not memorable at all.
Not really.
Like I don't think that like we talked a lot, not a lot, but like we talked about how good she was in the dinosaur invasion, right?
Yeah.
No, sorry, Invasion of the Dinosaurs. We mentioned like how she was great in that, and I love her in Time Warrior. And in
Mhm.
this one, I feel like you can definitely tell that Nation does not know how to write for Sarah Jane. It's like very much he's just writing what he thinks of as a classic Doctor Who companion.
Yeah. And she's kind of a damsel in distress.
Yeah,
Kid gets kidnapped, and then what does she even do? She says, "Tell us like, oh, you better be prepared," and that's kind of it.
I think like last week we mentioned in particular that's like you can't picture like Joe in that role. Um, but this is one of those episodes where you're like
It definitely could have been anyone could do it.
anyone. It could have been like even down to like someone like Victoria. Like it could have been any classic Doctor Who companion. It's just that unmemorable of that Nation gives her, and then even the Doctor. It's like very much like the basic Doctor mold. That's not really anything that I would say is particularly pertwee about it. It's very much just he's there, which is a very
Yeah.
much a thing you could say about every aspect of this story. That's like it, it's there. I don't really have that much to say about it. It kind of is just a story that you put it on and it goes by and you kind of just you find you find it hard to find any reasons to care to watch it. And to
Yeah.
go back to that quote, the director saying that it had nothing to really hang on to. It's like really
Yeah.
fucking fitting for the story because there's nothing to hang on to this serial.
I will never revisit the serial.
No. Like, I will
Yeah.
revisit Planet of the Daleks before I revisit this,
Absolutely.
because at least Planet of the Daleks has some aspects that I liked. Even like, I think that like the Khalids are much more interesting side characters than like any of the humans in this, or like of the Asian race, whatever the fuck they
The
are.
the Thals, you mean?
No, oh, what did I say? The Khalids.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ben.
They're still Thals
There's
right
still
now.
thousands. I'm sorry. I'm doing the retcon version, Ben. Ben,
Yeah.
do you have anything else to say about the
Why does
Daleks?
the doctor why does the doctor kill the city?
Does he?
Yeah.
Like, I just remember.
He's actively endeavoring to short circuit the city, and then it melts away.
I remember the city getting destroyed. I remember them going to the city, playing the puzzle games, and then they mean it to somebody there that's like at the controls, and then from there I can't tell you much. Like,
Yeah, there's like a Exelon at the
yeah,
controls, and it just like dissolves
yeah,
away. And then it creates the like antibody guards.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I mean, I don't know. Aside from we need to leave, why does he kill the city though? This unique life form. And then he's after the fact like, "Oh, it's such a shame. Now we're down to 699 wonders of the universe."
Which is that is a like. again, going back to, like, that could have been any Doctor line. Like, you could picture Hartnell to, like, a modern Doctor saying that line. It's such a, like,
Yeah.
basic line for the Doctor to
This
say.
feels out of character for the Doctor to find this unique life form and kill it.
Yeah, no, that's one that is very much unlike him.
It isn't really that hostile other than the fact it draws energy
Yeah.
from the surroundings. I don't know. One thing I thought was funny though, at the first episode, Sarah has to go change and she says, "You won't go away, will you?" And she goes in the TARDIS and immediately the Doctor walks away. I don't know if that's like out of character or if it was just I don't know. It was funny. And that's all my notes. That's pretty much it. What what could have fixed this story? What could have saved it? If you were the script editor, what could you do?
What can save Death of the Daleks? I definitely think, hmm, because it's a hard one. Because there's a lot wrong with Death of the Daleks. It's just, I think the main thing is you have to make the Daleks more menacing.
I I think if they commit to them not being menacing, like one, you could go funny Daleks. Go full on make this a comedy. They're stupid. Have it be funny. That could work. Or I would have gone more into the idea of the Daleks as unlikely allies. Have them really have to cooperate with the Doctor against the
Yeah,
Exelons. Try and break these puzzles,
I wouldn't even go with puzzles.
take down the
I think that's
city.
part of
You're not yeah, puzzles are silly, but something really either make it
yeah.
more cooperative, have that be a kind of a new take on the character, exploring a different aspect of the Daleks.
I think like what you would do, what they should have done is really expand on the menace aspect of it in the second half of it, but really lean in the first half that they're frightened and scared of this disease, and that they feel like they need to have the help from the humans to be able to like for the better good of the Dalek kind. That they're like if we don't
Yeah,
have
like
help,
they're helpless to start,
yeah.
and we should have seen
Like, we
more.
really should have saw that, like, element, and then there should have been some reason that, maybe, like, the humans did something to really piss them off. Like, the humans betray the Daleks, and then that really gets the Daleks to be more menacing and has them, like, really come out of like, be the class be the Daleks that we know,
Yeah, that could have worked too.
kill them and, like, really side of, like, killed, like, the whatever they're called, the Exelons. I think that's where you would have went. I mean, and honestly, give us less of the Exelons because I think the Exelons are just boring.
Yeah,
But really play up to
not even our boy.
you don't know the name, Ben. Don't try. Don't look it up, Ben. You
Uh,
don't know the name. That could have been
Not
somebody
even
else you
our
wouldn't even
boy
fucking know.
Belal. Not even our boy Gotal.
But like really play up the aspect of like they're scared, and then like really play up the aspect that like they want to fucking kill everything because they're pissed. Like that's what I went on from the Daleks.
Yeah.
Because the Daleks are best when they're killing people.
Did they kill anyone?
Not that I remember. They kill that, like I said, they kill that one of the Exelons when they test out the the new guns and say this this weapon is good.
Yeah.
But what did you think of
Yeah.
their designs this episode, Ben? They have a new look,
Do they?
kind of going back to the 60s look, having be more instead of having that gunmetal gray, it's more of a silver. What do you think of the silver look, Ben? The silver black look.
I literally didn't even notice. What did they look like before?
It's like the gunmetal gray.
Okay. Yeah, they're more silvery instead of like black, gray.
Personally, I like the dark gray more.
Sure.
I think this is a step back, and I think there's a reason why in Genesis they go back to the dark gray color scheme because it just looks better. I understand the reasonings that supposedly Michael Lee Bryant wanted to more look like the '60s version, but I think it's a
Mhm.
step backwards. I think that the Doc Gray, the Gunmetal Gray looks better than the Silver. I'm not opposed of like the orange lights they have this episode. They have like the orange bulbs, and I do like the idea of they have to use a different weapon that's like a little bit more primitive. I like that idea.
Yeah,
Yeah, I like that idea.
they're adapting to the circumstance. Have we seen them, like, changing out their armaments before?
They have one Dalek that has like a scooper in power, and then there's like a flamethrower one in Master Plan. Remember?
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's yeah, that's true. In the chase, there's one that has, like, a scanner.
Yeah. And then, what do you think of the voices? This was voiced by Dav Ross himself, Michael Wisher.
I thought it was fine.
We didn't get Roy Skeleton.
A lot of these things are very specific, and I don't really have any kind of opinion on them other than, "Oh, it's different? Okay."
I think that personally, Michael Wisher doesn't give a lot enough like vocal range as the Daleks. He's kind of just monotone, and he's his Daleks. I kind of
You
like
want
I
them
like
to
that.
be,
Like Roy
like,
Skeleton really goes
more
for it in his
screechy
Daleks. I like that
or
about Roy
something?
Skeleton.
Or more variation.
Like because I think it's probably just because like Nicholas Briggs is the voice of my Daleks. For like is the voice of the Daleks for me, and he is really good at like he has a Dalek that sounds really like this, and then I go kind of like this. It's like he has like he can voice 12 different Daleks that all have a
Oh,
different different sound to them, and it's great. Giving them all a unique personality. But Michael Wisher just he just kind of gives them all like the same voice. I kind of preferred it in Planet when he was doing it with Roy Skelton, so we kind of had a little bit more of like a back and forth and different Dalek personalities. But interesting fact about this is that whenever that Nicholas Briggs revoiced the Daleks in Day of the Daleks,
yes.
he was also offered to do the same thing for Death of the Daleks, but he said he liked the Dalek voices of Michael Wisher in the story and he refused. He's a big fan of this story. I don't know if you know this, to the point where there is two sequel stories in Big Finish.
A sequel to what?
So one is the Exelons and one is the Dalek Protocol. So there's so yes, there's a whole fourth Doctor Big Finish that's all about the Exelons. If you wanted more Exelons in your life,
Ooh.
and then there's the Dalek Protocol, which is part of the Dalek Universe line, and also it takes place on Exelon. Because for some reason Nicholas Briggs said, "That's my that shit's good, bro."
I mean, more power to him, I guess. Alright, cliffhangers. First one, the Daleks land. They attempt to shoot Doctor, Sarah, and the humans. Uh,
I just wrote
attempt.
Daleks.
2, Sarah comes face to face with a Exelon, and the Doctor meets a tentacle monster in the caves beneath the city.
I just wrote fucking thing.
Is that every single cliffhanger you write is yada yada.
But that's what most of them are.
Yeah, that's fair. And the third is stop, don't move. There's a pattern on the floor.
I just have stop don't move. It's and like we already talked about, that might be one of the worst cliffhangers in John Pertwee's run. Are we gonna say at
I
this
guess
point
it's the first one is the
can we
bad.
say that this is the worst one?
We can say it. It's fine.
Because like I don't, what's some of the other worst fucking cliffhangers for Pertwee? Nothing this bad comes to mind.
No, nothing immediately jumps out. A lot of like cliffhangers I've kind of forgotten about. I
Yeah.
guess I could look back at my notes.
Because of course I think when we do the retrospective episode, we have I have the good ones in my mind, but the bad ones I don't have. There's nothing that really strikes out to me like, oh,
Mm,
that was a rough one. Um, but no, this one's definitely up there. But yeah, I would agree that the first one's probably the best one, even though even that one's it's just the Daleks again.
yeah. Oh well. So, what would you rank this episode, Cameron?
See, the question is this better or worse than Colony in Space? And it's a hard fucking choice, Ben. Um, Colony in Space is bad, but Colony in Space is 6 pots of bad. But at least Colony in Space has the master. Death of the Daleks. I don't. There's not a lot of positives in Death of the Daleks in my head. Um, and like I already know it's worse than Planet of the Daleks, so it's going to be at least lower than a 6.8. So like, I think I'm gonna
Yeah,
do.
it's worse than the mutants.
I'm gonna do 5 point. I'm gonna do 5.5. I think it's worse than fucking Colony. Colony, I think I would do watch more than Death to the Daleks. I really hated the story.
Yeah, I'm gonna go 5.8. And looking at the polls, let's see. This ranked number 20 in the most recent poll in 2023. And the same 20 in 2014. In 2009 and 1998, it was 18. So it's gone down a little bit from when it was initially polled. So it puts it just above Colony, just above the mutants, the monster of Peladon, and the time monster.
I'm not looking forward to next week. That's for sure. Um, but yeah, I understand why it's in the bottom 4 of the poll.
Yeah.
I was sorry, bottom 5 of the poll, and I think I agree more with the later interpretation that this is really bad. And I think that people in 2009 and 1998 were high, thinking that Claws of Axos was worse than this story because I think Claws of Axos are I think Claws of Axos and the Mutants are much better stories than Colony than Death of the Daleks, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like much
I
better.
I I put it point 0.1 below my rating for Claws of Axos. So Claws of Axos is a little bit better,
Like
but not that much. You know what?
okay,
It is much. It is much. I'm taking that back. I'm bumping it down to 5.7.
okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Return next week, where you're gonna get us hearing about the. We're gonna love Monster Peloton, aren't we, Ben?
Yeah. It's gonna I think it might top the time monster for me.
Please remember to like and subscribe on all our podcasts platforms and services. Remember to give us a like on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook question mark? I don't know. I don't know how Facebook works. I'm a young boy, Ben.
Yes. And if you're an old boy listening to this, know that we love you very much.
Goodbye, everyone.
We're getting close, Cam. We're getting close. Have a good night.